Hey loves, I'm Candace and today I'm answering some of the most Googled IVF questions. If you guys enjoy this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you are not a part of my little family, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below so that you don't miss any of the videos that I will be posting. So I'm going to go ahead and get right into the video, and hopefully you guys find this video to be informational. I have to let you guys know I am not a medical professional. I am not a nurse. I have no medical background whatsoever. I am just a chick that did IVF, did tons of research, and I have learned a little bit along the way on my journey, and I want to share it with you. So with all of that said, I'm going to go ahead and get right into the questions. The first question is, will IVF work if a man is infertile? And the answer is yes. So IVF will definitely work if a male has low sperm count or poor sperm quality, especially if you use the ICSI method, which is the intraplasmic sperm injection, however you pronounce it. But it will work because they take one of the sperm and one of the women's eggs and put them together and make an embryo. And so even if a male has poor sperm quality or low sperm count, they can pick the best looking, best quality sperm and use those to fertilize with the ICSI method. Also, I've learned if a male has zero sperm, there's a surgery that the doctor can perform that allows them to take sperm out and use that for a male to be able to fertilize the eggs. If this is something that is interesting to you, it's something you should ask your doctor about or do more research about on your own time. But to answer the question, yes, IVF will work if a male is infertile. So the next question is, will IVF work on the first time? And actually it will. I know so many women who have had success in their first IVF cycle with their first transfer. They've never experienced a failed IVF cycle or failed IVF transfer. And so if you are one of those types of women, that is absolutely amazing. Unfortunately, there are so many of us, including me, who did not find success on their first IVF cycle. But to answer the question, yes, IVF can work on the first try. So will IVF twins be identical? This is a really good question, and there is a chance that IVF twins can be identical. If you transfer an embryo and the embryo begins to grow and it splits into two different embryos, two different babies, then your babies, your twins, will be identical. And I thought that was really interesting because if you transfer two different embryos and one transfer, those babies actually will not be identical. Those will be fraternal twins. But if your embryo does split, they will be identical twins. Next question is, does IVF hurt? I guess it depends on your definition of hurt. It can be painful. It can be painful because of the shots, because you are sticking yourself with needles, which can be painful if you don't have a very high tolerance for pain. Needles actually never bothered me, so the stems, the shots, were actually like the least painful part of the whole process. I think the IVF egg retrieval can be a bit painful with your recovery and with, you know, the cramping and just all of that. But overall, I would say IVF doesn't hurt. It is very uncomfortable, and it can be painful at times depending on what part in the process you're in. So I wouldn't be so nervous about IVF hurting if that's something that you're worried about. If you do have an issue with needles, that could be a problem because there are tons and tons of needles in the IVF process. But in my opinion, IVF doesn't hurt per se. There are just some parts of the cycle that can be a bit painful. The next question is, does IVF make you gain weight? Actually, it can. It made me gain weight. I gained about 5 pounds. But with the hormones that you're taking, because for me, I started off with the birth control pill, and then once you do the stimulation, which is just a bunch of other hormones, it can affect your weight, and it can make you gain weight just because your hormones are like all over the place, and you're pumping yourself with all of these different medications. And so I did actually gain a few pounds in my IVF cycle, and I know a lot of women who do gain weight, especially when you're doing the stems and you're preparing for your egg retrieval and your eggs are growing and your stomach is getting bigger. You definitely can gain weight during that time as well. And so yeah, unfortunately you will gain a little bit of weight with IVF, at least in my opinion. So should IVF be covered by insurance? I absolutely think that IVF should be covered by insurance. It is so expensive, and it is unfortunately something that so many people cannot afford. I know insurance covers a multitude of other procedures and processes that people decide to do. And I do believe that IVF should be another thing that's covered by insurance. However, there are a lot of insurance companies and a lot of states and a lot of employers that are finally waking up and realizing how important infertility and fertility treatments are. And so it is covered for some people by their insurance or by their employer or just the state that they live in. And so unfortunately, I'm not one of those people. But yeah, so hopefully in the near future we can have insurance coverage for all people that want to do IVF. The next question is, should IVF be banned? What? I mean, what? This is literally one of the most Googled questions, is should IVF be banned? I mean, I say no, because I mean, why should it be banned? I know a lot of people have issues with, as far as like ethics and all types of stuff with, you know, if IVF should be done if by Christians, and I know some religions don't believe in IVF and all that, and that's just a whole nother conversation. In my opinion, I don't think the IVF should be banned. I think it should be done by those who feel it is right for them, and if it is not right for you, then I feel like you shouldn't do it. That's just me. Next question is, how is IVF done? So I have done a whole video about the whole process of IVF, the procedure from start to finish. I will link that video right up here so that you can check it out. But in a nutshell, IVF is done with preparing a woman's body to make a bunch of eggs, preparing a male sperm. They make the baby in the lab, the little embryos, and then from there, when the baby has grown and the cells have divided, they put the embryo back into the woman's uterus in hopes that it will implant and grow into a pregnancy and then become a baby. So that's it in a nutshell. I have a whole video that you guys can watch that will give you detailed information about what IVF is. Who is IVF recommended for? I think it's definitely recommended for a woman who has issues with her fallopian tubes, or if you have other issues with your ovaries, maybe with ovulation and different things like that. As I said, I'm not a medical professional, so I don't know all of the technical terms, but for sure, if you have been trying other types of fertility treatments that have been unsuccessful, and you have issues with either male fertility or with your fallopian tubes or ovulation, anything like that, those are the times that IVF is used. And so that's pretty much when we use it as almost like a last resort, when we've tried so many other things that didn't work, and then it led us to do IVF. So why is IVF so expensive? That's the next question. I want to know the same thing. But you have to think of all the different factors that go into an IVF cycle, all of the work that has to be done to make the baby in the lab, all of the testing, all of the everything that goes on behind the scenes that we have no idea about. And all of those things with science are expensive. And maybe in the near future, when IVF becomes a lot more prevalent, the prices can go down. I don't know, maybe. But it is very expensive, and I did a video about how much we pay for our IVF cycles, and I will link that video right up here for you as well. But I have no idea why it's so expensive, and I think it's unfair because so many people can't afford it. But I can understand on one hand why it's expensive, because they have to use all of this technology and all of these advancements in science, and I know all of those things cost money, and of course the lab has to run, the doctor has to do things, you have the embryologist who's making your baby in the lab, and there's a whole host of things going on that cost money. And so yeah, I think that's probably why it's so expensive. The last question is, how is IVF different from other fertility treatments? So IVF is different from other fertility treatments because it is the only fertility treatment that is done outside of the body. All of the other fertility treatments are done inside of the woman's body. So if you do like an IUI, or if you do fertility drugs, or if you do any other type of fertility treatment, all of those things are done inside the body. But for IVF, they're actually making the embryos and making the babies in the lab, which is done outside of the body. They're taking the woman's egg, they're taking the male sperm, and they're putting them in a dish in the lab, and they're letting them grow in there. And once those embryos have grown, they're then putting them back into the woman's uterus and hoping that it will implant and attach to the uterine lining and produce a pregnancy and ultimately lead to a baby. And so that is how IVF is different from any other fertility treatment that is available in any other, insemination process. These are the questions that are most asked about IVF, and so I hope that I was able to answer at least one or two of your questions that you may have about IVF. If you have other questions about IVF, be sure to watch my other video that I have linked to this video. And after you've watched that video and you still have more questions, you can ask your doctor or do your own research. And if you still have questions, then you should comment down below the questions, and I will try my best to answer them to the best of my ability. As I've said before over and over again, I am no professional, I am no expert in this, but I do have a little bit of knowledge about it now that I've gone through 2 IVF cycles and I've done tons of my own research, and I have my own beautiful IVF baby. So I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you have an amazing week, and I'll be back next time with another video. Bye. Some people you guys know I am not a medical professional. Okay, y'all have no idea how long I've been trying to record this video.